देव राम कृष्ण सर्वदेवधीश्वरा शिव शिव महाशिव शिव राम कृष्ण शिव शिव महाशिव शिव राम कृष्ण विश्वपति लक्ष्मीपति प्रजापति सोमेश्वर विश्वपति लक्ष्मीपति प्रजापति सोमेश्वर शीतल विमल स्निग्ध शारदा श्री अधीश्वरा सर्वदेव देवी रूप सर्व सिद्धि परायण राम कृष्ण परब्रह्म नित्य नित्य सोमेश्वरा शिव शिव महाशिव शिव राम कृष्ण रूप रूप सीमा सीम लीला नित्य सुरेश्वर रूप रूप सीमा सीम लीला नित्य सुरेश्वर अर्थनाथ महादेव सतदेव भूतेश्वरा पितृलक्षस्तुति यत् कर्म विद्यमान नित्य सत्य राम कृष्ण एकमेव द्वितीयम् शिव शिव महाशिव शिव राम कृष्ण अवतार निर्विकल्पे चित्तस्थिते ब्रह्मलोकधीश्वरा शिव शिव महाशिव शिव रामकृष्ण दर्शन नित्य ध्यान मनने मुक्ति लाभ दर्शन नित्य ध्यान मनने मुक्ति लाभ स्मरण जन्म शोध निर्वय अमीय लाभ जुगले अभिन्न हृदय राम कृष्ण सारदा प्रेम योगे मुक्ति मोक्ष धन शिव सुंदरा शिव शिव महाशिव शिव राम कृष्ण ब्रह्म विष्णु सर्वदेव राम कृष्ण देवरा शिव शिव महाशिव शिव राम कृष्ण शिव शिव महाशिव शिव राम कृष्ण शिव शिव महाशिव शिव राम कृष्ण
Something on Ramakrishna? On Ramakrishna?
Hymn 94, page 45. Hymn 94.
जय जय राम कृष्ण भुवन मंगलो जय जय राम कृष्ण भुवन मंगलो जय माता श्यामा सुता अति निरमलो जय माता श्यामा सुता अति निरमलो जय जय राम कृष्ण भुवन मंगलो जय जय राम कृष्ण भुवन मंगलो জয় শিবানন্দ জয় লীলা সগোচর যোগী যোগানন্দ জয় নিত্য নিরঞ্জন যোগী যোগানন্দ জয় নিত্য নিরঞ্জন জয় শশী গুরু পদে জয় শশী গুরু পদে গত তনু মন জয় জয় রাম কৃষ্ণ ভুবন মঙ্গল জয় জয় রাম কৃষ্ণ সেবা পর যোগী বর অদ্ভুত আনন্দ অবেদ আনন্দ জয় গত মোহবন্ধ যোগরত ত্যাগ ব্রত তুরীয় আখ্যাত যোগরত ত্যাগ ব্রত তুরীয় আখ্যাত শারদ সুধীর শান্ত শারদ সুধীর শান্ত যেন গণনাথ জয় জয় রাম কৃষ্ণ ভুবন মঙ্গল জয় জয় রাম কৃষ্ণ জীবে শিব সেবা ব্রত গঙ্গাধর বীর জয় শ্রী বিজ্ঞানানন্দ প্রশান্ত গম্ভীর প্রবীণ গোপাল মাতৃ সেবা পরায়ণ প্রবীণ গোপাল মাতৃ সেবা পরায়ণ শারদা শারদা পদে শারদা শারদা পদে গত প্রাণ মন জয় জয় রাম কৃষ্ণ ভুবন মঙ্গল জয় জয় রাম কৃষ্ণ বালক চরিত জয় সুবোধ সরল নাগবর ত্যাগ বীর বিবেক সম্বল কথামৃত পরিশান গৌর জলধার কথামৃত পরিশান গৌর জলধার গিরিশ ভৈরব জয় গিরিশ ভৈরব জয় বিশ্বাস আকার জয় জয় রাম কৃষ্ণ ভুবন মঙ্গল জয় জয় রাম কৃষ্ণ রাম কৃষ্ণ দাস দাস জয় সবাকার রাম কৃষ্ণ দাস দাস জয় সবাকার রাম কৃষ্ণ লীলা স্থান জয় বারবার রাম কৃষ্ণ দাস দাস জয় সবাকার রাম কৃষ্ণ লীলা ভগত বাঞ্ছিত জয় চরণ কমল জয় জয় রাম কৃষ্ণ ভুবন মঙ্গল জয় জয় রাম কৃষ্ণ ভুবন মঙ্গল জয় মাতা শ্যামা সুতা অতি নিরমল জয় মাতা শ্যামা সুতা অতি নিরমল জয় জয় রাম কৃষ্ণ ভুবন মঙ্গল জয় জয় রাম কৃষ্ণ ভুবন মঙ্গল জয় জয় রাম কৃষ্ণ ভুবন মঙ্গল।
Hymn 95, page 46.
এসেছে নূতন মানুষ দেখবি যদি আয় চলে এসেছে নূতন মানুষ দেখবি যদি আয় চলে তার বিবেক বৈরাগ্য ঝুলে বিবেক বৈরাগ্য ঝুলে দুই কাঁধে সদা ঝুলে এসেছে নূতন মানুষ দেখবি যদি আয় চলে এসেছে নূতন মানুষ দেখবি যদি আয় চলে তার বিবেক বৈরাগ্য ঝুলে বিবেক বৈরাগ্য ঝুলে দুই কাঁধে সদা ঝুলে এসেছে নূতন মানুষ দেখবি যদি আয় চলে শ্রীবদনে মামা পানি পুরী গঙ্গা সলিলে শ্রীবদনে মামা পানি পুরী গঙ্গা সলিলে ব্রহ্মময়ী গেল মাদিন ব্রহ্মময়ী গেল মাদিন দেখা তো না গিয়ে দিলে এসেছে নূতন মানুষ দেখবি যদি আয় চলে এসেছে নূতন মানুষ দেখবি যদি আয় চলে নাস্তিক অজ্ঞানী নরে সরল কথা শিখালে নাস্তিক অজ্ঞানী নরে সরল কথা শিখালে যেই কালী সেই কৃষ্ণ যেই কালী সেই কৃষ্ণ নাম ভেয়ে দেখ মূলে এসেছে নূতন মানুষ দেখবি যদি আয় চলে এসেছে নূতন মানুষ দেখবি যদি আয় চলে তার বিবেক বৈরাগ্য ঝুলে বিবেক বৈরাগ্য ঝুলে দুই কাঁধে সদা ঝুলে এসেছে নূতন মানুষ দেখবি যদি আয় চলে water পানি পানি নাম দে জলে aqua water পানি পানি নাম দে জলে আল্লাহ বাদিশা মশা আল্লাহ বাদিশা মশা কালী নাম ভেদে বলে এসেছে নূতন মানুষ দেখবি যদি আয় চলে এসেছে নূতন মানুষ দিন আপন হারা পাগল পাড়া, আপন হারা পাগল পাড়া সরলে নেহারিলে এসেছে নূতন মানুষ দেখবি যদি আয় চলে, এসেছে নূতন মানুষ দেখবি যদি আয় চলে। তার বিবেক বৈরাগ্য ঝুলি, বিবেক বৈরাগ্য ঝুলি দুই কাঁধে সদা ঝুলে, দেখবি যদি আয় চলে, এসেছে নূতন মানুষ। দুবাহু তুলিয়ে ডাকে আয় রে তোরা আয় চলে, আয় 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 রে তোরা আয় চলে। দুবাহু তুলিয়ে ডাকে আয় রে তোরা আয় চলে, তোদের তারে কৃপা করে, তোদের তারে কৃপা করে বসে আছি বিরলে। যতন করি পারের তরি, যতন করি পারের তরি বেঁধেছি ভবের কুলে, এসেছে নূতন মানুষ দেখবি যদি আয় চলে, এসেছে নূতন মানুষ দেখবি যদি আয় চলে। তার বিবেক বৈরাগ্য ঝুলি, বিবেক বৈরাগ্য ঝুলি দুই কাঁধে সদা ঝুলে, এসেছে নূতন মানুষ দেখবি যদি আয় চলে, এসেছে নূতন মানুষ দেখবি যদি আয় চলে, এসেছে নূতন মানুষ দেখবি যদি আয় চলে, এসেছে নূতন মানুষ দেখবি যদি আয় চলে।
Krishna Charan. What you can say? You have one more song in Thakur?
একটা ভজন ঠাকুরের কোনো শরণে এটা গাই
Then she will conclude.
उतर गया मोरा मन की संसार जब ते दर्शन पाया पाया ठाकुर तुम शरण आई आया ठाकुर तुम शरण आन बुलत मोरी बिरथा जानी आन बुलत मोरी बिरथा जानी आन बुलत मोरी बिरथा जानी अपने नाम जपा अपने नाम जपा दुख नाते सुख सहजी समाए दुख नाते सुख दुख नाते सुख दुख नाते सुख दुख नाते सुख सहजी समाए आनंद आनंद गुण गाया गाया ठाकुर तुम शरण आई आया ठाकुर तुम शरण आई बाह पकड़ के कटिलीन खूने बाह पकड़ के कटिलीन खूने बाह पकड़ के कटिलीन खूने गृह अंध कूपते गृह अंध कूपते कहे नानक गुरु बंधन ढूंढे कहे नानक गुरु कहे नानक गुरु कहे नानक गुरु कहे नानक गुरु बंधन टूटे बिछोरत आन मिलाया मिलाया शरणाई ठाकुर तुम शरणाई उतर गया मोरा मन की संसार उतर गया मोरा मन की संसार जब उतर गया मोरा मन की संसार जब ते दर्शन पाया ठाकुर तुम शरणाई ठाकुर तुम
रामकृष्ण शरण
Hymn 90, page 43, Ramakrishna Sharanam.
रामकृष्ण शरणं रामकृष्ण शरणं रामकृष्ण शरणं शरणे प्रभु रामकृष्ण शरणं रामकृष्ण शरणं रामकृष्ण शरणं शरणे कृपा हि केवलं कृपा हि केवलं कृपा हि केवलं शरणे Krishna Sharanam Sharanye. Jai Sri Guru Maharaj Ji ki Jai. Jai Mahamai ki Jai. Jai Swami Ji Maharaj Ji ki Jai.
ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। जननीं शारदां देवीं रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे तयो श्रित्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः। Today is a very auspicious day all over the world when everyone is celebrating the New Year day. It has a special significance. This particular day has a special significance in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, who, according to many, is the incarnation of this age. Incarnation of this age may be a statement which may not be acceptable to quite a few. It is but natural because we hardly understand the meaning of the word incarnation or avatara. Just now we recited a mantra, Avatara Varishtha. So none other than Swami Vivekananda himself, who was very skeptical when he met Sri Ramakrishna for the first time. He would not accept his experiences as valid experiences. He thought they were hallucinations. This was just 6 years before Sri Ramakrishna revealed himself in a very special way. We all know that incident, that even while he was in his last days of his earthly existence, Swami Vivekananda, in spite of having received Sri Ramakrishna's grace for 6 long years, as he mentioned later on to Sister Nivedita, who in her Master as I Saw Him, she writes, once she was also not able to accept her Guru and accept everything that her Guru told her. So naturally she used to very often argue, and then perhaps she one day felt that this is a bit too much, argue too much. I should have some kind of faith in my Guru. So Swami Vivekananda, instead of supporting her or maybe agreeing with what she said, told her it's fine, because I fought with my master for 6 long years, and Nivedita had met him just for a few months during his first visit to England. So he said, I understand your problem. I have fought with my master for 6 long years and I know every inch of the way. What did he mean by that? It is extremely difficult to understand the mind or the working of an incarnation. We use the word avatara varishta, which Swami Vivekananda himself used. But do we really know the significance of that word? In what sense he is the avatara varishta? In what sense he is avatar in the first place? What do you mean by avatar? What do you mean by an incarnation of God? So these are questions which normally occur to every human mind, every rational human mind. And Swami Vivekananda himself says that he himself had to struggle for 6 long years before he could accept, because he would not accept anything which not only satisfied his reason but would satisfy him by way of direct experience. So you can imagine what kind of experiences he might have had to say this statement, to compose this verse, Avatara Varishtha. So on this Kalpataru day, as it is known, of course, Kalpataru word itself is a misnomer. If you see Swami Shardananji's great master, one of the most authentic biographies on Sri Ramakrishna, which by Holy Mother's gracious blessings and Swamiji's request, Swami Shardananji undertook. In fact, he compiled all the major incidents of his life and gave it to Max Muller, who published the first small but authentic biography of Sri Ramakrishna. They were all Swami Shardananji's words. I don't think Max Muller changed much. So he was being prepared by Sri Ramakrishna and also supported by Swamiji and later on by Holy Mother herself. So while he was composing this book, he addressed all the doubts which a normal rational human being would present or would ask, the doubts which naturally occur to rational human beings, because spirituality is a matter of direct experience. It's not philosophy, quite opposite of philosophy. Philosophy helps you to form an intellectual framework of the ideas which appeal to the rational mind. But the real validity of any philosophy or any scripture, even though they are said to be revealed, you see, we have so many scriptures in the world. Many of the religions, the Semitic religions, even other religions, they don't want to question the authority of scriptures. They simply have faith that these are divinely revealed utterances or divinely revealed thoughts which the prophets have spoken, so that the matter ends there. You cannot question it. Whereas in Sri Ramakrishna's case, he was happy that not only Swami Vivekananda but even other disciples like Yogananda, they all tested him. They wanted to, because they were not confident enough in the beginning to surrender their mind to something which they do not know is true, 100% true. So it's only when they got the experiences which Sri Ramakrishna spoke of, because he said, I have not only seen God, but I can show it to you. And he was the only person in that age who could claim that and who could give that experience to all the disciples. So each one of the disciples, whether he's a householder disciple or a monastic disciple, whom he chose to be monastic disciples, they had their own share of experiences. Everybody had different experiences. He was a unique teacher, and he could give experiences even by mere thought. That is what Swamiji says. Incarnations like him don't even have to give you a mantra or don't even have to teach you any spiritual practice and ask you to work out that and get experiences yourself. Just by their mere wish or will, they can remove the sanskaras or the impressions, latent impressions of several lives, and give spiritual experience to anyone who really deserves it. This is a very important thing, that one should deserve that. So when we talk of the Kalpataru, this is known as Kalpataru Utsav. All of you are familiar with the incident that it happened. Coincidentally, it happened on 1st January, which happens to be a new year. And many people, after that incident happened, when Sri Ramakrishna came down, he was sick. All of you know, he was suffering from throat cancer. These were the last days. He passed away in August. And this was January 1886 in Kashipur, a garden house, where he was so sick that he could hardly walk. But that day he felt better. And many of the householder disciples who had gathered there, Girish Ghosh was one of them, the famous playwright, they were all waiting because they did not want to disturb Sri Ramakrishna's rest. And the monastic disciples and Holy Mother, of course, they were all very keen to see that his health is taken care of, and they were all serving him in the Kashipur, on the first floor where he stayed in Kashipur. But that day, he himself expressed a wish. There was bright sunshine, bright sunlight outside, and he said at around 3 o'clock Indian time, he decided to just go out for a stroll. It was quite it was very, very rare to see him walking because he was so sick that he had to be supported even on the bed and to get up. So he himself on that day, strangely, expressed a desire that he'll go out for a walk. And when he comes down with some of the householder disciples, strangely, they were not all the monastic disciples did not come down. This is something very strange. The would-be monastic, of course, they were not monastic, they were all aspiring to be monks, and Sri Ramakrishna was separately guiding them, separately, because he knew there are two different types of messages. The teachings that we see in the gospel, you see, most of the teachings are addressed to people who were householders, and their questions also dealt with the problems that normally which householders face. But very few recordings are made of what he spoke, what transpired between Sri Ramakrishna and his chosen disciples, direct disciples or monastic disciples, who were at that time, many of whom were serving him. And their main intention was, that is the real Guru Seva, that we should take this opportunity not to get some benefit from the Guru, but serve him. So when he went down, instead of following him, they said, let us now quickly clean the room, because in his presence, many things cannot be done. So they had to take the bed outside because it was they had to do many things there in the room. So all of them were occupied with that. They wanted to do it quickly before he came back, so that he can take rest after he comes back. So the people there were quite a few disciples who were waiting, and they were surprised to see. There's a beautiful mango tree, the garden of Kashipur. So when he came there, seeing all these disciples, especially Girish Ghosh, whose faith was 100%, they say it was 125%. He was a disciple in whose mind the other disciples would have doubted him, but Girish Ghosh, Swamiji used to praise him. He said he has 125% faith. It's more than 100%. So he was there, and because he knew the type of life he led, the type of bohemian life he led, it was quite impossible for any saint, even if the saint belonged to a very high order of spirituality, to redeem him. So it was only possible for a person, an incarnation, to absorb all the sins of what Girish did in his life. He knew it very well. In spite of all his evil quality or bad qualities, he was a very honest person. He never hid any of his defects or any of his, he never tried to, he was not a hypocrite. As Swami Shivananji says very often, that Thakur accepts everything except hypocrisy. Just be what you are. And that is what Girish was. So he plays an important role in this particular incident which happened. Of all the householder devotees, Girish was chosen. The reason, 125% faith in Thakur. So it was perhaps deliberate, and Sri Ramakrishna knew what he would say. When he came down, he was overwhelmed, and he started bowing down to him, and all others followed him. And Sri Ramakrishna, just to test him, perhaps just to test him, asked him, you see, you're telling everybody that I am an incarnation and all those things. What do you see in me? Why are you doing all these things? Just going around and telling everybody that I am an incarnation. What do you really see in me? What have you experienced in me? What do you know of incarnations? So he was just trying to test him. But he was sort of scolding him. Said, why do you go about shouting that he is an incarnation? What have you seen in me? So Girish Ghosh very humbly folded his hands and said, if Vyasa and Valmiki, you know, they were the, Vyasa composed the Bhagavata, the glory of Lord Sri Krishna. Valmiki wrote the Ramayana, expressing the glory of Sri Ramachandra, both of whom were incarnations. So he said, if Vyasa and Valmiki could not express the idea of incarnations, could not express your glory means the glory of the incarnation perfectly, with all their scholarship, with all their spirituality, even they did a very poor job. They could not express the glory of the incarnation of the previous incarnations like Rama and Krishna. Said, if they can't do it, what a humble or a simple person, an evil person like me, how do you expect me to answer this question? So looking at the humility of this person, he was a great playwright, all of you know. He composed some of the most wonderful dramas ever written on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So many divine dramas, not that he wrote only secular dramas. He was a great playwright, and he would act in his own dramas. So here Girish Ghosh says very honestly that if I knew, if Vyasa and Valmiki, such great sages, they could not express the glory of Rama and Krishna, Valmiki and Vyasa, what do you expect me to do? So seeing this wonderful humility, the lack of the egolessness of the devotee, or the egolessness of a sadhaka, which was 100% again. Not that he had faith, 100% faith, but he was absolutely egoless. Otherwise, he would not have given his power of attorney to Sri Krishna. Because he was very frank when he was asked to do, he even refused to repeat God's name twice. He was so honest. Said, if you tell me to repeat a name, I may or may not repeat. He was very brutally honest. He said, at least once can you remember the name? He said, I can't promise you because many times I drink so much that I'm not in my normal state of mind. So I can't even promise that. So then Sri Krishna said, now what to do? But still he wants his grace. So he said, can you do one thing? Can you give me the entire power of attorney? That is what in law they say. You give the power to fight your case to some lawyer or somebody else. That's like giving the power of attorney. So he said, give me. So he said 100%. He was not aware of what he is going to do because then his will cannot work. He cannot do anything that he wills. It is the Lord's will that will act through him. He didn't understand its implications. He said, yes, definitely. He thought, I have to do nothing. But it's a difficult thing not to do anything. Once Swami Premanandji was asked, somebody was praising him, said, by Sri Krishna's grace, you have become great saints. Much later, much after the Mahasamadhi of Sri Krishna. So he said, don't say that. He never made us great. He made us nothing. That is real greatness. If you have your own ego, then God does not speak through you. The beautiful verse in the Imitation of Christ, he says, silence all ye prophets. It's a beautiful word, or a beautiful work of a great devotee. That's why Swami Vivekananda used to always carry this Imitation of Christ along with Bhagavad Gita whenever he traveled in India as a Parivrajaka. Many people were surprised, but he found that wonderful spirit of bhakti there. In if you some of the verses Swami Vivekananda himself has translated, there he says, silence all ye, so that the prophets can speak through you. The Lord within can speak. Silence all ye prophets, I mean, even you, if you reduce your ego or make it completely zero, completely nothing, as Swami Premanandji said, it is his grace that he made us nothing, not great, nothing, so that he can express through us. So the Lord is seated within and we block the expression of that divinity. Divinity is always flowing. We don't have to seek for divinity. It is already there. But we ourselves block that divinity by our puny little egos. So Girish Ghosh obviously did not have even a semblance of an ego. Otherwise he would not have said that your will prevail. I am giving the entire power of attorney. Henceforth, my will not be there. Everything will happen. Later on he lost his son. Many things happened, in many tragedies happened in his life. But he said, my condition is such I can't even cry. Because he is the doer. I have given my power of attorney. Even he could not weep. Even there was so much grief in his life after that. But he could not even weep because Sri Krishna, the moment he tried to express, then said, my ego will come to the forefront. Who am I? It is his wish. Let things happen. I don't have any likes or dislikes. I don't want things to happen this way or that way. So that kind of spirit Girish Ghosh had. And that is why he was chosen on this Kalpataru day. None of the other disciples were there. I mean, monastic disciples. There were other householders who just ran. When Girish called them, Girish and his brother Atul was there, and many other devotees were there. But they were not aware. They were just taken aback by this wonderful divine sight. When he uttered these verses, Sri Krishna went into Samadhi, there itself under that tree. That is why it is so significant. And then the most important thing is what he uttered after that. What kind of blessing did he give? Because most of the people who had come perhaps were not ready. You see, Kalpataru means there is a tree, it's a mythical tree under which you are supposed to sit. And that's according to the Puranas. And one who sits under that tree makes a sankalpa. I want this, that sankalpa is fulfilled. Kalpataru means whatever kalpana or sankalpa is there, that tree under which all your sankalpas or all your wishes are granted. But that is the function of that Kalpataru, not of Sri Ramakrishna. Why? That's why, though we call it a Kalpataru Utsav, Swami Shardananji in his wonderful biography, Great Master, he says, the Great Master, he says, I would not call this day a Kalpataru day, but rather I would call it a day of self-revelation. Sri Ramakrishna revealed himself fully, 100%. Of course, those who could see that, those who had the divine vision could see it. Even those who did not have, they got a glimpse of that reality. What reality which Sri Ramakrishna was. So he says that day, the Kalpataru Utsav or the Kalpataru incident it was a day of self-revelation of Sri Ramakrishna. Self-revelation. He revealed Atma Prakash. That is a beautiful word in Bengali or Sanskrit. Atma Prakash. So he showed on that day what he really was, what Sri Ramakrishna really was, what an avatara is. And second part of that sentence is bestowal of freedom from fear. This is another important thing. When the Lord reveals his own self, he removes all fear from the heart of the devotee. That is the first thing that happens. If fear is still there, that means we don't have 100% faith in the Lord. So if he has revealed himself fully, as he did on that day, that was his greatest blessing. And then he said something significant. Though Swami Shardananji says it was a day of self-revelation and also the day when he bestowed fearlessness to his devotees. Now what is the meaning of this? What is this fearlessness that he is speaking of? One is, then he uttered a few sentences. Immediately after listening to Girish Ghosh's humble, you can say, submission, he said, this is why Vyasa and Valmiki could not express the greatness of an incarnation. If they cannot do, how do you expect me to do, O Lord? So he was ready at that time for the grace to flow. And then Sri Ramakrishna uttered something which has become like a universal blessing. That's perhaps the highest blessing Sri Ramakrishna can give. No doubt people want smaller blessings. We all are happy with smaller blessings. But if Sri Ramakrishna can give the highest blessing, then as he expressed in a parable, you don't go to a king and ask for a few vegetables. You ask for his treasure. If he has a treasure, why don't you ask for his treasure? Why do you ask for a few vegetables that you can get from anybody else? You go to a king and ask for a treasure, the most precious things he possesses. So what was the precious thing he possessed and what was that thing which he distributed even though people had not asked for it? Maybe except for a few, I don't think anybody had asked for the blessing that he gave. Everybody had something in mind, some desire. Somebody wanted money, somebody wanted something else, somebody wanted devotion, some wanted some of their problems in their life to be solved. But Sri Ramakrishna did not address any one of those. That is what Kalpataru does. A Kalpataru does not discriminate. It gives whatever you want. Whether you ask for a foolish thing or you ask for a really sensible thing, that is your problem. Kalpataru will give. Sri Ramakrishna expressed this so beautifully through another parable. It's such a beautiful parable. Sri Ramakrishna, before this revelation, he has already spoken about the Kalpataru in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. If you see, he spoke of this Kalpataru. When somebody was asking how should we pray and what should we go to the Lord for? What should we pray for? So he gives a beautiful example. This same Kalpataru tree was there in the forest, but a person not knowing that it is a Kalpataru just went and he was very tired and he was afraid it was getting dark. So he happened to be under a Kalpataru, which he did not know. And while he was sitting there, he was just wondering, I'm so hungry, if I get some food now. So immediately his wish was fulfilled, and from nowhere, as it were, suddenly food came. Then he got food, water, he had a nice meal, then he was tired. Said, if I just had a nice bed to sleep on, because he was extremely tired, where will you get a bed, cozy bed in the forest? But it was a Kalpataru, a bed appeared, and he was nicely lying on that bed and relaxing. And then he dreamt. He suddenly, in the dream, not even when he was conscious, he just thought, this is a forest. What if tigers come? So suddenly a tiger appeared, because that is what Kalpataru does. It doesn't discriminate. Whether you have asked for a bed or sweetmeats or a tiger, the tiger came and devoured him. So the moral of this story, Sri Ramakrishna is explained much before he became a Kalpataru. Sri Ramakrishna is not that kind of Kalpataru, because when the tiger came and ate that person, he was helpless. He was helpless because he made a wrong wish. Even though it was unintentional, a wrong wish or a wrong choice in life can completely destroy us. So one has to be very careful. That's what Sri Ramakrishna is implying. Be very careful when you ask anything, especially a person like Sri Ramakrishna. You have to be very careful, because he is not the Kalpataru. Of course, he is much more gracious than the Kalpataru. If we think God as a Kalpataru, the way this parable shows, then we are in for trouble. But here, Sri Ramakrishna is not a Kalpataru in that sense. He is a spiritual Kalpataru, if at all we can use that word. And that is why Swami Shardanji says, Ke Sri Ramakrishna, and that day he gave the highest blessing. He did not say whatever desires are in your mind. If he were to be a Kalpataru, he would have said, I am very pleased with you, Girish, and all of you. So I just bless you so that whatever desires you have in your mind, may those desires be fulfilled. That is what most of us want. We have certain desires, we want them to be fulfilled. But Sri Ramakrishna did not say that. He gave only the highest blessing, and the matter ended there. Many were not fit to receive it. We'll discuss about that also. People who were not fit to receive it, they got it, but then they came running and said, you please take back the blessing. Because if you don't want a thing, and if it is given to you, then again it's a problem. You have to be adhikari, you have to be ready to receive it. So he blessed everybody by saying, what more shall I say? Tumader arki bolbo. And when he heard Girish saying that what Vyasa and Valmiki could not explain, how can I explain? He was so pleased by his honesty, by his humility, by his egolessness, that he said, what more can I give you? What more can I say? Tomader Chaitanya Hok. In Bengali, it means, may your spiritual consciousness be awakened. Chaitanya means consciousness. We are all conscious beings. But that's not the consciousness he is talking about. We are really not conscious. We are conscious, we are, you can say, semi-conscious, in the sense, not biologically, but spiritually, we are not fully conscious beings. If we are fully aware and fully conscious beings, then our behavior would be different. So that's why he deliberately blessed everybody and said, may your Chaitanya, Tomader Chaitanya Hok. He's telling this to conscious beings, but what did he mean by that consciousness? So that consciousness is the inner consciousness, the spiritual consciousness, which removes all the obstacles, which cover the true consciousness of the Lord who is seated within. He is there within, the inner consciousness, the spiritual consciousness. Why do we call it inner? Can it not be outer? This was another question which Sri Ramakrishna asked. Why do you think that you can see God only when you close your eyes? So that means He's something inside you. If He's inside you, can you not be outside you? So when he spoke of that consciousness was inside, outside, everywhere. But it was not the consciousness that we normally associate ourselves with. We are conscious beings, we are conscious of a mosquito sitting on our hand, we are conscious of so many things, we are conscious of our ego. If somebody insults us, we feel so bad, we are conscious of that. That is also a kind of consciousness. But that is because of the wrong identification with the wrong consciousness. We have at so many levels consciousness can be understood. But Sri Ramakrishna was not talking of those levels of consciousness. We are conscious of our, there is so much of pride that we are conscious of our pride. If somebody harms that pride, we feel hurt. That is a wrong consciousness. That is not the real consciousness. The Chaitanya he is speaking of here is the spiritual consciousness which makes you immortal. That is why Swami Shardanji says it is not just the awakening of consciousness that he blessed people with, but as a result he removed all fear. Fear comes only when we hold on to the wrong consciousness. If we have a consciousness that we are the body, then fall of body, we are afraid of death. Why? Because our consciousness is associated with the body. If we are associating our consciousness with our ego, when your ego gets hurt, you feel your consciousness has got hurt. So with anything that we associate our consciousness with, consciousness means the prajna or the Chaitanya as it is known. Consciousness makes us human beings. Consciousness is there everywhere, but in human beings it is manifest more. It's there in animals. Animals are conscious beings. Even the stones are conscious beings. The Sufi mystic very often said, it said something new which modern physics is now pointing to. Without consciousness, a stone will not remain a stone. A metal will not remain a metal. There is a consciousness. There is an ego associated with that metal, that I want to be steel or I want to be iron. I can't be gold. Gold has its own consciousness. So that is also a consciousness which is not as manifest as our consciousness. Human beings have the highest consciousness can be developed in a human being, not in animals or the stones. That is why the Sufi mystic says, he is of course full of Vedantic ideas, he says, I see that same consciousness, this famous Sufi mystic, which combines the best of Islam and Hinduism. The Sufis were great Vedantins. So one of the Sufis said, consciousness is static in a stone. It is there, but it is static. We don't see that. But it starts to quiver in plants. We see some consciousness in the plant. They also are affected by heat, sound, and when somebody harms them, they also feel the pain. So there is consciousness, but it is quivering in the plants. But it is fully active, dynamic in human beings and of course animals. So the consciousness which Sri Ramakrishna is speaking of is the pure consciousness which animates everything. It's not the gross consciousness associated with our body, with our ego, with our mind, with our moods. So consciousness can attach itself with anything. But what Sri Ramakrishna is blessing everybody by saying Chaitanya Ho means be pure conscious, be conscious of your true nature, the Lord within. Once that happens, then and then only all fear goes. If it is associated with any other consciousness, fear will be there because there will be loss. If there is a body, body will be lost. If there is some prestige, prestige can be lost. Name, fame, so many things can be lost. Money can be lost. We put our consciousness in our wealth, in our buildings, in our cars. That is also a way of being conscious that this is mine. And when you lose it, fear comes. Or even the thought of losing money, losing your prestige, using name, fame, all these things are fears, are based on the final fear of not aligning yourself with the pure consciousness. That is why there is a beautiful word in Patanjali's yoga. He says why there is suffering. It's there beautifully in Buddhism as well. Buddhism, they give so much importance to this consciousness. Chaitanya Hok can be very easily understood by these Buddhists because they believe in only one reality, that is consciousness. That is how the word Buddha has come. Buddha is a state, it's not a name. Name was Gautama Siddhartha. So he said Bodhi or the Buddha is a state which every one of us has to attain, whether you call it Nirvana, Nirvikalpa Samadhi, that consciousness which cannot be destroyed. It is eternal consciousness, Chit or Chaitanya. The same thing Buddha spoke. And what is the greatest sin? Aparadha. We call it aparadha. Aparadha means when we do some great mistake. So what can be the greatest mistake in our life? It is known as prajna aparadha. Prajna aparadha. Prajna aparadha means the fault which we commit every day. We commit many mistakes, but the greatest mistake that we commit is the prajna aparadha, according to Patanjali's yoga or Buddhism. The moment, that is why the Zen Buddhists and they completely hold on to awareness. He said the moment you lose your consciousness of awareness, you become absent-minded, you're gone. They do so many meditation techniques where the masters see whether your mind is wavering. Even if it wavers a little bit, they'll give you a nice slap. You have to be totally alertness. Thakur used to say manhush, one who is aware, one whose mind is full of alertness, full of chaitanya, always alert, always careful. So holding on to that chaitanya or holding on to that consciousness is what Sri Ramakrishna blessed everybody. Of course, not everybody wanted that. That is a bit unfortunate. So he went and touched. As I told you, he did not just, even by thought he could give, but some people they came. They thought Girish Ghosh has got all the blessings, we should also go. They were all coming and with so many desires in mind they came. So they say Sri Ramakrishna just touched them. Only one person, Akshay, who was there, Akshay Kumar Sen, who wrote the Sri Ramakrishna Puthi, somehow it is very strange, he did not touch him. Said, not now, not now. But otherwise he touched everybody and everybody went into a state of ecstasy. They say that so beautifully it is explained that all of them started shouting with all the spiritual experiences because they got it. See, it says the devotees were blessed by the master that day and had wonderful spiritual experiences and visions. Some felt bliss and a sort of divine intoxication. Some experienced creeping, blissful sensation of the rising of Kundalini, which is a very difficult thing. And years of yoga also will not allow the Kundalini to rise. But that day, by the Master's grace, the Kundalini rose. So they say some saw ecstatic vision of their chosen deities, the Ishtas. Some saw Krishna and all the visions they had, and some saw divine light. All the experiences were unique, each in its own way. Everybody got a different experience depending on what they were praying for, but extraordinary bliss was what they felt. So, not that he did not give that experience, he gave it without any discrimination. As I said, except for one Akshay Sen, but he got it later on after the passing away of Sri Ramakrishna. He got it. That's why he could write this Puthi, wonderful book which he wrote. It was an inspired work, a poetic work on Sri Ramakrishna, Akshay Kumar Sen. So anyway, they all got these experiences. Only one person, I think it was some Mazumdar, I forgot the name, he got that experience and he was very happy till he went home. Even after going home, he was happy. But something strange happened. In 3 or 4 days, he was not able to do his office work. He was obviously working in some office as a clerk or something. He said, I can't put my mind to my job. I feel everything, I'm in a divine mood. So he came and requested Sri Ramakrishna, please take back this experience. I don't want, because I just can't digest it. So except for a few such cases, the bliss that each one of them got was extraordinary. So some began to meditate. People who could never meditate in their whole life perhaps suddenly felt like sitting for deep meditation. Everybody went their way. That is what it is described here. Some found it so emotional that they could not control themselves. I mean, their divine experience so overwhelming. So different experiences, but one point we have to remember here, none of even Latu Maharaj, who was Swami Adbhutananda, later on he became Swami Adbhutananda, he was watching everything, he was watching the fun, what was going on. So they were all getting these experiences, they were shouting, some of them were in deep meditation. He knew something great is happening there, Sri Ramakrishna. But none of them, then later on they were asked, why did you not go? All of them were there, 7 or 8 direct disciples were there. Said, why did you not go? Did you not feeling? He said, what is there? Sri Ramakrishna is our own. We can get, it's not only on this Kalpataru day that we will get these experiences. Whenever we want, he is ready to give. He is a Nitya Kalpataru. That is the word he used. Mahapurush Maharaj, Swami Shivanandaji said, he is a Nitya Kalpataru. We don't need to go on 1st January to get all these blessings. Okay, he has given, he has revealed himself. But Swami Shardanji said that by whatever experiences they got, ultimately it was not only a self-revelation on that day, what he was capable of, what Sri Ramakrishna as an incarnation, Avatara Varishta was capable of, but also the fact that all fears will vanish. Abhaidan means bestowal of freedom from fear. So in one stroke, those who were sensitive enough, those who were spiritual enough to understand that message, they felt a strange kind of fearlessness in them. They stopped, I mean, all the uncertainties of life, all the confusions that normally assail, at least that effect lasted for a very long time, depending on the samskaras. For some, it might have lasted more, for some, it might have lasted less. But all of them, definitely, the will of Sri Ramakrishna was so powerful that through his will, and for many of the people, he did not even touch. Maybe in some cases he had to touch them to give that divine inspiration, but others by mere will. So that is the capacity of a avatara to, in an instant, he is also known as Kapala Mochana. Our avatara is also known as Kapala Mochana. Kapala means there is a saying that whatever we are is written here. Kapal, on our Kapal. We say, oh, Amadir Kapal. So that means our whole fate is written here. We are born with our what is going to happen in our life, Jati, Ayu, and Bhoga. The species in which we are born, the lifespan that we will live, and also the experiences that we'll encounter in life. Everything is written, but Avatara is the only person by whose grace that those lines, or maybe that Kapala Mochan means he can remove all the problems or all the samskaras, he can destroy all the samskaras, all the ignorance in an instant. That is how Saul became Paul. You saw that incident. Saul was a tax collector, a very, very tyrannical person, was torturing so many people. But he got the grace when Jesus suddenly came in the form of light and said, "Why are you tormenting me?" Me means Christ was not there in his physical body. He did not see Paul. Saint Paul did not see Christ, the living Christ. He saw him only after his death. So he came as light and told him, removed all the bad samskaras, and that robber was riding a horse. Not robber, actually, was a tax collector. He became a transformed person and became Saint Paul, who was one of the greatest preachers of Christianity. So also by his mere touch, not only Girish, but all the people who were there, and throughout his lifetime. That is why Swami Shardanji doesn't want to call this a Kalpataru day as such. But he definitely says on that day, he revealed his true nature, and those who understood it, those who could get the benefit of that revelation. Of course, this incident later on was mentioned in the biography, Ramchandra Datta also. All those who were there, they told the others, and then many of them came to Sri Ramakrishna, because Sri Ramakrishna had said that before I leave, I will break all the pots. Pots in the sense I will reveal everything. So this was the day of revelation, and we remember it every year. We gather together, remember Sri Ramakrishna as a Kalpataru, a spiritual Kalpataru who will grant only those wishes which will make us more spiritual. Anything that makes us spiritual, he will grant, but he will not grant those wishes which will make us more and more ignorant, which will lead to suffering. So this important point you have to remember, and we pray to Sri Ramakrishna for his grace, so that we, in our own lives, the prayer that he uttered, or not prayer, the blessings that he gave on that day, if we remember that blessing, and if we pray to the Lord, pray to Sri Ramakrishna himself, the Avatara Varishta, and seek his blessings, so that all the ignorance that has led to suffering in our life is destroyed by the awakening of inner consciousness in our own hearts. So for that reason, we pray to Sri Ramakrishna, who is both outside, inside. Especially he is inside as the Antaryami, the inner controller. So he has the capacity to destroy our ignorance, to give us that, to awaken that Chaitanya within us. That is the highest prayer. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.